Hi, guys, and welcome. It's always a fun time trying to get technology to work in my favor when I set these up. So here we are. We are still streaming our somatic wellness sessions that I've been doing here in the group. So today we are talking about the 5 channels of awareness. And the reason why I wanted to bring this specific topic into the group is because there are several different ways that we use somatic therapy to help us shift our state of being, to help us come back to regulation, back to centeredness. But I also want to take a moment to just pause and highlight the importance of understanding that regulation is not about staying in the space of being regulated all the time. We are meant to have these fluctuations in our nervous system. So it's actually helpful to utilize practices that move our awareness of our nervous system in these different spaces so that we grow our resiliency when we come into contact with stressful situations. So there's a lot involved in it, a lot wrapped up in it. But I just wanted to let you know if you feel like, it's it's hard to stay centered. It's hard to stay in this place of peace. It's hard to be unbothered by things. It's not that we are striving to create this robotic person, but that we are just being mindful of where we're at, where our nervous system is functioning, and when we need to activate these tools and practices to help bring us back into regulation when we need it. So we are expected to have some sensations of anxiety, of stress, of a low sense of feeling occasionally when we need more rest, right? These are all normal responses that we're able to have, that we're allowed to have, that we should really turn towards and listen to these inner sensations. And sensations are one of the 5 channels, so we'll be talking about that too. But it's just important to bring that awareness in. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that right away. So, all right, the 5 channels. Here's the 5 channels. We've got the mind, the imagination, the body, the sensations, and the emotions. So, in these 5 channels, these are all ways that we are interpreting the energy of our environment and how we're taking things into our being that begin to influence us. So, our mind, this is why you see a lot of mindset stuff out there, because it is one of the channels of awareness, right? We know that our mindset can affect how our day is. And this is why I always promote this taking time in the morning to just right out the gate, set your mindset for the day. What do you want to feel? What energy do you want to embody that day? What energy do you want to carry around with you that day? And set the tone for the day through the channel of the mindset, right? The second channel, imagination. We're going to talk more about this one today. But the imagination channel is our ability to uh, imagine, right? For those that are in my age group, we didn't have the technology that we have today, so we got to grow up being just wildly imaginative, and I think our children today don't have that same level that we did. But the imagination is so important in how we are anticipating what's to come, right? So our imagination and our mind channels are very interrelated. And we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. So the third channel, the body and the posture. This channel is really more about the way you're carrying yourself, also about how some behavior patterns might be coming up. But specifically with somatics, what we look at is how you're carrying your body and how that is relating to how you're feeling in that moment, right? If we are kind of depressed and low feeling, we tend to like turn in. We tend to have this concaved kind of just trying to shrink into self kind of posture that we'll take. So it's about bringing the mindful awareness to that and knowing like checking your body posture and being able to adjust, and then also being able to work with postures to begin to shift the mindset, because the connection is not just from the mind to the body, but there's also a connection from the body to the mind. And that's a piece that a lot of people tend to miss, or they don't know, right? There has been so much talk and influence around the way that our mind influences the body, that it has really created this like overarching attention just towards the mind aspect. But really, when we come back to understanding, like, no, the body also speaks to the mind, that's an important cue as well. So we can start to work with the body and the postures that we're holding to begin to shift the mindset as well. And then sensations. So, of course, body and sensations are really interrelated as well. So, the sensation aspect is when you're actually slowed down enough to experience the sensations that your body is having, that is trying to feed you this information and say, alert, alert, right? But sometimes we are so numbed out of what our body is feeling. We're not even fully in our body. We are dissociated. We are trying to be everywhere but in our body, maybe because of pain or any type of thing like that, that we ignore, or we just don't recognize the sensations that our body is trying to use to tell us or to alert us to something. So the sensation channel is all about kind of slowing down and coming back to that mindfulness to bring our awareness to the sensations that our body is currently having. And then the fifth channel, the emotions. So the emotions kind of pulls all of them together and mushes it all up, and it creates this emotional connection to all of the things, right? So I know it's really easy, especially if you're an emotional person, like I am. I've been told my entire life that I'm overly emotional. I don't think I'm overly emotional. I'm just an emotional person. I'm just really in tune with all of these things. And so I listen to my emotions. I know what they are. I know what I'm feeling, right? So the emotions is the connection of these four channels all together creating a conversation, and that conversation is your emotion. And so that emotional connection also paints a picture of what we might be feeling. When we feel that emotional shift, when all of a sudden we're like spiraling down and we're like hitting this low point, or we recognize that spiral, we're recognizing that emotional state that we're in, and we can pause and start reflecting of, oh, what is going on with these other channels that's creating this emotional spiral right now? What is going on that maybe is creating this emotional trigger right now that I am reacting to? And how can I start to navigate, what channel I need to be listening to? Like, where is that disconnect? What is really happening right now? And this really helps you to bring more awareness into your life in general. So a lot of times we're just living so fast paced that we just lack that total awareness of our life in general anyway. So being able to slow down and practice the awareness is super important. So imagination. Let's talk about this imagination channel. So, we often think of the imagination as, our tool that we get to use to dream up things, to spark creativity, to dream up like impossible things, right? We think of imagination as something like unreachable, unattainable, like not realistic, but really the imagination helps us to paint the picture of very real things too. So the imagination channel, being closely related to the mind channel, really helps us to hone in on the understanding of how our nervous system is really affecting our body. So if you've ever experienced anxiety, if you've ever had an anxiety attack or a panic attack, you know that the stories that are being created in your mind and all the imagined ways of usually how you can be hurt or die is usually what goes through your mind when you're having a panic attack or an anxiety attack. And those imagined ways, that's the imagination channel taking over. That's the imagination channel showing you these visions or ideas of these things that are completely unrealistic and they're imagined, but your body doesn't realize it. Your body thinks that what you're imagining is really happening, and it heightens that response of the nervous system. So if you can think of an anxiety attack, right? And I've definitely had several of those in my lifetime. But if you can think of an anxiety attack and you feel the anxious energy coming over you, and maybe by the time you notice it, what you're first noticing is your heart is racing and you're starting to feel dizzy, right? So many other things has happened before that has even hit you. But depending on your level of awareness depends on where you start recognizing these attacks happening, right? So say it isn't until you notice the heart racing and the dizziness setting in that then you're like, oh, I think I'm having an anxiety attack and I don't know why, right? You're totally oblivious to what's been running through your mind, to what maybe even your imagination was running wild with, right? And you're just kind of rushing through your day and you're just realizing like, oh no, I'm in an anxiety attack right now. So you're noticing the heart rate, you're noticing the dizziness, and now you're like spinning out because you're noticing these things, and now your imagination is kicking in and it's saying, oh my gosh, what's wrong? That, I'm gonna die, something's wrong with me, I need help, like, and all of those things start happening. And in that moment, the things that your imagination is running wild with is feeding into the nervous system. It is telling your body that you're about to die, and your body inside is freaking out, right? And it makes your anxiety attack worse. Yeah. So the imagination channel is a super powerful channel. And to show that, for any of you that were in my somatic yoga class Sunday, we did a visualization, and I'm going to walk everyone through this visualization again because this is a really powerful way to really understand just how powerful the imagination is. So I want you to take a few minutes to close your eyes and just play with me here in this moment. I promise you it's not anything scary. We're going to be using a lemon in our mind, so it's nothing scary, nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to cause any anxiety or stress, but to just trust me and just play along with this visualization, just so that you can experience how powerful your imagination is. And so I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to begin to focus on a lemon and notice the color of this lemon. Notice the texture of the skin. Notice the temperature of it. Maybe you can even notice the bumpiness of the skin of the lemon, right? We're all very familiar with what a lemon is like. And just paying attention to how well you can visualize this. Can you truly see this lemon and what it looks like? Or maybe it's just a knowing. It's an inner knowing that you know what this lemon looks like. Or a feeling, you can really feel what it feels like. Just allowing yourself to notice the way that you are experiencing this in this moment. Now let that lemon disappear, and I want you to now begin to visualize you. And I want you to imagine that you're in your house and that you're walking to your kitchen and you see this lemon sitting on your counter. And I want you to imagine that you go over to the lemon on the counter and you pick it up and you carry it over to your cutting board. And there's a knife ready sitting right there. And you decide to cut this lemon open. And you cut this lemon into wedges. Perhaps you cut the ends off first and then begin to slice, but you're noticing too that you begin to smell that citrusy scent. Perhaps it's the feeling of the juices of the lemons that you can begin to feel on your fingers as you're cutting the lemon. And as you pick up one of the wedges, you hold it up and you can really smell that scent of lemon. And now you take a bite of this lemon and you recognize that sour, tangy, zesty kind of lemon taste. And now you put the lemon down and you come back. And that's it. That was all of the imagination channel, right? Now I want you to think about if you noticed that maybe your salivary glands started producing more saliva, if you could sense a bitterness in your face, if you were making a face imagining what that lemon tastes like. And just coming into the awareness that the power of the imagination began to make some physiological changes in the body. It was preparing you and readying you for what you were imagining was happening. That's how powerful the imagination channel is. That is how powerful working with guided visualization can be for healing, because your inside doesn't recognize a difference between what you're imagining and what is real. This is why worrying creates so much stress in our system, right? That sensation of worrying, of always, thinking about something bad happening, it creates so much stress. It releases different chemical hormones, and it's because of the power of the imagination channel. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to pay attention to what you are imagining is happening, what you are imagining is going on or might go on or might happen, right? These kinds of stories, the way that it begins to run away in our mind, can really start to affect how our body is reacting. So making sure that you are bringing your awareness to the mind, to the channel of the imagination, to the stories that are running, that you allow yourself a chance to recognize if you are increasing the likelihood of becoming dysregulated by your own inner stuff that's happening, right? For those with anxiety disorders, I know you know what I'm talking about, because this is what typically trips us up a lot, is the constant, kind of racing, rambling thoughts that is associated with anxiety. That is the stories that are just kind of running amok. And it's those stories, if we don't catch them, can trigger an anxiety type of reaction. And so here we begin to work with somatic work and understanding and being able to recognize different pieces of what is going on in the inner world, so that we can recognize how we need to start taking action to regulate our nervous system. And that really is the power behind somatic therapy that you just don't get with other forms of therapy. So there's definitely benefits to all different types of therapy. CBT therapy was really beneficial for me. DBT is another very common type of talk therapy that is done, but what they lack is this awareness of working with the 5 channels, of coming back into the body, of creating a place of self-empowerment for the individual when they are experiencing these types of things. And this is what I really truly love about somatic therapy, is it's all about coming back to the wisdom of the body and I mean, our body is really wise. It really has a lot to teach us and to share with us and to show us about what is going on in our inner world and what we can really be doing to help ourselves. How many times have you had that intuitive knowing of what you really needed to do to help yourself in the moment? Right? And do you listen to that, or do you ignore that poor little inner voice inside that's like, you really need some extra rest, and you don't listen, right? So it's things like this that somatic therapy really reminds us of the importance of tuning in and coming back to that place of interoception, turning inwards into the inner self and following along with what is happening in our inner world, and really allowing ourselves to bring the mindfulness to that practice so that as we come into our inner selves and we're able to navigate our inner world, we are more easily able to navigate our outer world. So I hope this has been beneficial for you, and we will continue on this journey talking about more ways that somatic therapy can help you bring more wellness into your life. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all later.